start all over.
Sorry.
My name is Matthew Corinaldesi. I was born in Du Bois, Pennsylvania, October 3rd, 1929. I was 5 years old when my mother and father took me to Italy, a little town called Avacelli, La Valle degli Uccelli, the Valley of the Birds. Came to this country alone, with no family, but I made friends right away as soon as I came. My first friend was Orlando Scaramucci, which he was a real Sons of Italy man. He's the one who took me to become a member of Sons of Italy with Dario Ramizzotti. I call him the Iron Man, l'uomo de ferro.
You were born in the state in Pennsylvania, in Du Bois, Pennsylvania.
Du Bois,
And that's
Pennsylvania.
brought you back to Italy.
And they took me back to Italy, and I grew up over there. I was there World War II. I was in seminary for 4 years, which I don't regret. I'm so happy my mother put me in seminary. That was the best thing she did. That's where I became a man. My mother took me away from Pennsylvania. Why? Coal mines, work, go down there, come out black, take a shower at the coal mines, direct to the bar. They never saw the wife. My father died at 54. 54 years old. We didn't know what he had. In Italy, he died. I was coming to this country 1948 after World War. I was going to Naples, take the boat. My mother said, we're going to both come to Rome. My father went to a specialist in Rome. And I went to Naples, and my father was operated that same week. And I didn't even know, and never forget, Easter was March 28th. I said goodbye to everybody that day. I arrived in New York April 18 with a boat called Marine Perch. It was a hospital ship. During World War II, I got sick at Golfo de Leone in Civilterra, and I never got out of bed, and I said, oh, Italia, I'll never go back. I'll get sick like this. I'll never go back.
It was a very dangerous crossing.
Yeah.
You know, but because it was a medical ship, it was less prone to being attacked. So you were the only child?
Only child. Only child.
Harder for your mom to send you away.
Yeah. She told me, son, for your future, I'd do anything. When I left Italy, I knew that Cimarelli, which he was a member of the lodge too, nice man, and Ramizzotti, he lived in Great Neck, they were coming to Italy. My mother went to see him and says, you know, my son is going to America. He's going to be 18 before he loses his citizenship, this and that. He says, my nephew is coming too. So we were on the same boat. I knew his family in Italy, but I never had met him. Maybe he can take me out to the Penn Station. I got to go to Altoona as I'm going to work in the coal mines. So we talked, and he said, come to my house. He said, I'll take you to Penn Station Monday. This was on a Saturday. Yeah. And so I worked with him for 3 or 4 years. Landscaping. That's how I got into the Sons of Italy. He was very active. He went to all the conventions. I had to be 19 or 20. I lived in Spinney Hill. And there was a guy, Italian guy, and I met him, I don't know how. So I said, I'm looking for a place to board. And he had an attic. And you go up with the ladder. And every time I put my shoes on, I found a rat inside the shoe. And I said, that's it, I leave. I went to North Road and Great Neck, another place. I moved 4 or 5 times. It was tough. I said to my mother, Mom, I think maybe I'm coming back to Italy. I said, things for me over here not too well. Unless I find a nice girl, maybe I'll stay.
Did you meet Gloria? How'd you meet your wife?
We met at youth club, okay, Sons of Italy. They had dances and this and that. I couldn't speak English too good. And I took her out a couple of times. She couldn't speak Italian. She was born here. I was living by myself, and it wasn't too good of a living. I was kind of sick, I guess, from, no family around. So Gloria went out a few times, 5, 6 months. And I said, maybe that's the one. So I said to her, you want to marry me? Let's go. I said, I need somebody. I said, I can't stay alone. So she says, ask my father. So one day I said, hey Frank. He says, can I marry Gloria? Well, sure, why not? Why not? And both the same year I married. 1953 I married.
When you first joined the lodge now, what was it like?
In the beginning was all mostly men. The president, they called it the venerable that time. It's not the president. And it was Mrs. DeJana. That's when I became a member. She was the president, first female president.
It wasn't just the lodge, the John Michael Marino Lodge. There were a number of other social organizations for the Italian American community, the Italian community.
The Villanova, we used to call it, United Italian Society. That was the club. That's where we sold the stock. I was president of the United Italian Society. First was Domenic Imbese. He was an accountant. He had a lot of pool. He was very good with the Sons of Italy. He was a member, and he did all the book work, all the stockholders. He prepared all the stuff for the stockholders, and we sold $50 stocks.
Do you remember how many shares you ended up selling?
I don't remember exactly, but when we sold the building, we sold it for $750,000.
The time that you were president of the lodge, venerable of the lodge, what is the thing that you are the most proud of?
I was venerable when Christopher Columbus. When we did the statue of Christopher Columbus, we had no money. And so we tried to get the sculpture, and we finally found Spampanado, lived right over here in Glen. We had him come to a meeting. He says, I'll make the bozzetto. You know bozzetto? And he made 2 of them. So then we picked which one. And they gave us a price of $25,000, $30,000. We cut him down, I think, of $22,000. That was a lot of money.
That was loud.
Where are we going to get $22,000? What are we going to do? It was only us and Glen Cove. And good thing they had Carmen Corciola, Joe Nigro, Martone. That's the 4 or 5 guys. That's who was running the show. Scary had a good job. He was CEO of Gotham Sand and Stone. And then he knew a lot of people over there. We decided to have a dinner dance. Place called in Great Neck. Leonard's. 750 people. I used to get all the Leah Sard Farm, the nursery guy, this guy, Scary used to get that guy, all people with money that used to donate. That's how we started with the statue. Where are we going to put Christopher Columbus? At that time, we were getting involved in politics, especially Republicans, and we were well recognized. We went to town hall. We tried to get a piece of property someplace, maybe right there across from town hall. Then they turned us down. So we met the chairman of the Democratic Club of Fort Washington, and we talked about it. He said, let me talk to the executive. County executive, Nickerson. He was Democratic Nixon. He was trying to get the Republicans back to the Democrats, which we didn't care what he was doing. And finally, after maybe a month or so, they decided to give us the piece of property over there at the Supreme Court, across the street of Supreme Court.
Last October, we celebrated the anniversary of the statue.
Yes.
The statue looks beautiful.
Mhm.
And all because of the vision that you all had back then.
Between Ikinusa, Sons of Italy, and the other lodge, we were about 500 members. We built a Villanova, which is Chase Bank,
Right, okay.
with our own hands. On weekends, it was in 1953, and I had a junkie truck making a foundation
Right.
and dump it in the back. But the lodge was mostly to get ahead, try to build other lodges. At that time, we built all the ones in Long Island between Port and Glen Cove. We try to get somebody in close by that we know very well, or a member. We had them bring them in our lodges first. The third lodge was Colombo's Lodge, which that got tremendous, because there was a lot of politics in there.
You were president of the lodge from 1962 to 1964. What were some of the things that you did?
When I was there, I said, we're gonna raffle cars. Nick Fasano was the richest guy in Port Washington. He owned the button factory, Main Street, he owned all that. Nick Fasano, okay? He was the tycoon of Port Washington. He was very nice joined the Sons of Italy. Nick's wanted to go selling too good, so Nick Fasano called me one day, hey Matt, just bring him down, I'll buy them all. Don't worry about it. He was very helpful, but he didn't win. So many things we did. You know, we did the parade. We had a parade. You know that, right?
Memorial Day parade? Just-
No, Sons of Italy parade. It was right after we did Christopher Columbus. My brother-in-law, Eddie, was chairman. Angelo Tomasi was so helpful. He gave us the trailer. And my place, we made all the stuff with decoration and this. We had a nice parade. I don't know if you know Scaramucci. Me and Scary were very good friends. We went to Italy together. I took him to my hometown, and then we went to Sardinia. There was a lot of memories over there at that time. Me, Scary, Domenic, and Imbese, we were very, very good friends. You know, we spoke Italian at the meetings. Sometime in English. The auditor we had was Pezzi Petito, and he lived on Avenue A. He didn't drive. We had to get a taxi for him to come to the meetings, but he was very smart. He was an auditor. The feast was this. Vince Balletta was my attorney. So I said, Vince, are you running for Supreme Court judge? You gotta come join the Sons of Italy, this and that. I said, you need help. But he was a member before. It was after Villanova went to buy to a meeting over at Haven Avenue. And he became president of the Sons of Italy. All of a sudden, after the meeting, you know, who wants to talk? So at the end, Vince was president. He says, you know, I got something to say. Matt Corinaldesi is going to be chairman of the feast. I didn't even know. I had no choice. The first year, I made $30,000. But another thing to tell you why the youth used to join the club is because we had a doctor. Dr. Tita was our doctor. When you were sick, you would go to Dr. Tita, and it didn't cost you nothing. He was a good doctor, especially for the Italians. Every once in a while, he used to come to the meeting, make a nice speech. And Dr. Jenkins was Italian. The only reason he changed his name, the father, mother, they had a market down by the town dock, and his name was Gioacchino. In that time, the Italian name was not well recognized. My dues was $1 a month. 30 cents used to go to Dr. Tita. 30 cents was that?
Yeah,
That
no.
was a lot of the members probably then became new immigrants, laborers. So having a medical backup for them was big.
Yeah.
Whose idea was it to put that medical connection?
That was already there before I
The
joined.
order itself had already
Was already
established
there,
that.
yeah.
When did you go back to Italy Yeah.
1956, my son was 6 months old. I said, I gotta take him back to see my mother.
Oh,
16 months old. I remember there were no jet planes. B-52, New York to Paris, 18 hours. And then Paris to Rome.
What airport did you leave
Oh,
from?
Kennedy.
You said that earlier.
Yeah, Kennedy.
Crazy. When you went back with Robert, what did you feel?
Everything looked so old. After how many years? Almost 10 years. I pulled up, I rented a car in Rome and I drove down. And as soon as I pulled into town, it looked so old to me. Oh my God, what a
Is
difference.
there a lot of destruction from the war still?
No, most of it starting to be fixed. The roads, not everything, but it was getting better. No, everybody who went, mostly went to Switzerland to work. France, Germany, Belgium, in the coal mines, they went, a lot of the people. They made money, they all came back, bought property. Then they went back again in 62. See, big change. Yeah, big change. People had cars, people had good jobs. It was really doing well. Everything was good.
And how many children did you have?
2. I had a boy, Robert, and my daughter lives over here, Analia.
Now, what was the name of your garden center?
Washington Nursery. Sometime Christmas or Easter, I couldn't even have dinner with my children because I had to stay and sell the flowers or this or that. But I tell you, this country was good to me, but I was good to the country. I did work, a lot of work. I gave to this country too. I worked hard.
Was it always just about pride for being Italian?
Yeah. Proud to be Italian.
To appreciate the sacrifices of those who come before me and my parents and the extended group. I am so proud to be part of this John Michael Marino Lodge and to see where it started, where it is now, that it still exists. We're one of the oldest organizations in Port Washington. To see how it came about through hard work, pride, but now without losing the love of America. It wasn't so only about the Italian, it was about the Italian American. And that, I think, really matters.
Yeah. We used to say, l'Italia è il giardino d'Europa. Italy is the garden of Europe.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you.
To appreciate the sacrifices of those who come before me.
Gave to this country too. That's my son.
On the right?
Yeah, on the right. That's my daughter. And that's my 2 grandchildren.
Got it.
That one of his people, that student that he had in Bangladesh, made Jesus Christ on a leaf. That's a leaf. It's a leaf, that leaf. It's not paper. It's not paper. It's a leaf. And you notice it didn't even discolor, nothing.
you.